we fooled him again. Let's go and kick some puppies. Just twiddling moustaches.
Welcome to the No Streetlights podcast. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Tim. We'll be engaging in conversations every Friday to shine a light on what we've been through, how it changed us, and what we've learned.
We want to encourage societal growth towards kindness through understanding.
These conversations and the associated language can be triggering.
Listen at your own discretion.
But please reach out if we can be doing something better.
So, let's take a breath, relax, and be welcome.
Quick heads up and a very fast anecdote here, but I do apologize if anybody can hear what sounds to be a washing machine going in the background. I have a very reasonable explanation. That is my washing machine going on in the background. Aaron, that was my first bit at trying stand-up comedy. How do you think it went?
10 out of 10. I
Perfect.
would absolutely continue paying what I'm paying now to watch you
I
perform
think
this.
you get me for free.
That was the point.
Oh, well, I feel accomplished. Yeah, after becoming friends with Stia in our first episode of the season, I've definitely started considering things of like what out there in the world have we, not touched on in our show or had the opportunity to have somebody who has touched on those things in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it started making me think of all these like little problems that kind of pop up throughout life. And you and I feel like we tackle a lot of heavy emotional sides and allow people to shine their light and tell their story. But, what about the small things, the little annoyances? Who's out there to talk about those?
Well, I do have a friend here by the name of Geoff Jones who has a podcast called Make It Better, who talks not only about the little annoyances and small grievances, but also large systemic issues such as how speech therapy and the connotations around people who have difficulties communicating, how they can often lead to homelessness or prison. So, Geoff, welcome to the show. We're excited to sit down and try and make it better with you today, man.
Hi, guys. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have the opportunity to talk with you a little bit today. Spoiler for some of our listeners, we have had the lovely opportunity to be on Geoff's show. So I believe the episodes are planned to be released semi-close together. So if you're listening to us here, go check out Geoff's podcast. Go listen to us over there. Find out what Aaron and I wanted to discuss to make it better.
And what a great episode it was as well. Yeah. So thank you again for coming on mine, and thank you for plugging it. And yeah, I think hopefully the two together will pair nicely.
I certainly think so. So what are you here to talk about today, Geoff?
I just talk mainly. Yeah, I've listened to you guys. I mean, I'm a big fan of personal growth and people who start in a position in their life, no matter what age that is, that may seem difficult to get out of, and essentially how that changes you through life. From that's hopefully for most people a very long time, and you never quite know what's around the corner. You never know how that's going to change, and so I think podcasts like your own, highlight people in that journey. And I think the more people who talk about their journey, more people will be able to resonate. So, I just here to talk about me. It's like my favorite topic.
I want to make sure that people understand too, but like your show does, I would say similar, maybe better than what we do. The topics that you've been covering lately, the one Aaron already mentioned it, but the school to prison pathway, you have talking about leadership, root audiences. You have, just going through your episode listing here, you've had amazing topics that you've wanted to discuss, including, I saw one about PTSD, making PTSD awareness better.
Yeah.
And you bring on all kinds of individuals from the world of comedy, literature, film, and TV. And that's incredible. Like you're raising the flag and showing people like, hey, these are topics that, not just the everyday normal person has to go through, but, people who also have immersed themselves in what we would consider like, I guess, higher end entertainment fields, things of that nature.
Yeah, what I love about the show, it started off, and a few years ago, drunk with friends, just thinking, wouldn't it be great if we, had a podcast? And it was just me, and I got the phone, had no idea what I was doing, got the phone out, hit record. My friend would be like, I hate roundabouts, and I hate, and I was just chatting. And I did 3 episodes with my actual, close body of friends. And I was like, this is just drunk people chatting, which is fine, but I kind of left it for a bit because it wasn't a serious project. And then, moons ago, I did stand-up comedy and didn't have the time to kind of really look into doing that. It takes a lot of time. I didn't have that time being a family man. And then I wrote a children's book. I was like, this is my new hobby, is writing a book. But you know what? It takes a lot of time writing books. The children's book that actually got released was just a short project. It was meant to be a side project, but it's the only one that actually got finished because it takes a lot of time. And then I was talking to people, and I'd met a lot of people through comedy. I met a lot of people through kind of the online writing community. And I was like, I think coming out of lockdowns and COVIDs and things made me realize just how there's kind of a lack of connection with people. So the very first episode was actually one of my close friends, but he's a creative director for a film festival. So I had him, a couple of authors coming on, then a couple of comedians. So I was just kind of utilizing people that I knew. And essentially I was just saying, whatever you want to talk about, then what annoys you, and we'll make it better. And we had, it was great, Marvel movies and missing laundry and piles of laundry and all these kind of things. And then there was one about chronic shyness early on. I thought, this is from a comedian. And I thought, this is someone who I know is extremely funny. But he's talking actually about his overcoming shyness. So I was like, okay, this is something different. Which is fine. So I kind of had to adjust my tone and my level. Then there's a lot more craziness and I hate everything, but you got to make it better. That's the kind of caveat. And then we had someone coming on talking about dogs, and the conversation ended up being about her cancer fight. I realized actually, if you give people the opportunity, they will talk. And I've been very lucky with the guests. There are some absolutely amazing guests. We're coming to the end of season 2, kind of end of August. And I hope in season 3 there'll be more. But I'm happy to talk to anyone about anything, as long as it's not against political people, or you can talk politics, just not, I hate this person because of X, Y, and Z. And same with religion. Like we don't go for anyone. But we're quite happy to talk. So everyone, I've had some people who've got some quite right-wing opinions. Maybe someone I don't spend a lot of time with on that personal level, but was talking about their love of fandoms and Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. So it's a real mix. But I'm very proud of it. And it's becoming now a platform for people. The homelessness, we've done the PTSD plus the PTSD special. Those are probably 2 of my favorite ones. They're certainly most listened to, most interacted with, because it's not something which is spoken about an awful lot. And it's still being listened to now. It's being discovered now. So I mean, I love it. I love meeting people. I love talking to people and hearing their stories. And I'm blessed that they share with me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That it is incredible to open up, be vulnerable, share their stories. And you often get to something that wasn't, we'll say, the episode title. So in my research, one thing that was a little disappointing was that there was no Geoff Jones episode, but I'm happy that we are here to host it today.
The closest thing actually is I got my wife on. And I basically plied her with alcohol and took advantage by saying, "Here's a microphone. See, I led you on there, Tim. I saw your face. I led you on with what I was going to put a microphone in front of face and said, right, it's coming because this is the end of season 1. And the show is still very raw in season 1 as well. But I said, right, let's make Geoff Jones better from the person who knows best. And she was fantastic. She sat there within 3 minutes, wrote a list of 23 things that I do that annoy her. But all in good jest. I think we all have those things. But she then had probably one of my most favorite sound bites where she broke down in tears because she basically just said that she wished that I believed in myself as much as she did and other people did. And it was kind of very touching to hear because, I know she supports me. I support her, but we don't necessarily have those deep conversations. We know when the other person needs the other to pick them up. And we have conversations, but just to hear those words were, it was great. So yeah, there's not necessarily one by me, but my wife certainly didn't hold back. But yeah, but now we're here. Now, so everyone can really hear just what goes on and whatever's between my ears.
So, Geoff, I think we're gonna kind of start diving a little bit into the history here, but before we get into that, I want to give a little message to all of our listeners. If you are listening to us on an audio platform such as Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcast, surprise, we are also over on YouTube in a video format now. If you are interested in watching our wonderful faces and see Geoff wave at the camera and Aaron's gorgeous beard, or if you just want to see the reflections of my ring light on my glasses, you're welcome to come join us over at YouTube. If you feel so inclined to subscribe, leave a like, maybe a comment, maybe share with a couple friends. And if you're listening to us on YouTube and just want to hear our voices instead of seeing us, check us out on the audio platform. So I don't want to sit here and plug it for too much longer. So let's go ahead and get back to the show with Geoff here. So Geoff, I'm very interested in a couple of things that you've said here, right? First of all, I feel like this is an interesting thing, but what is it about us podcasters where we want to bring our wives on, or our significant others? Because that's the same thing that Aaron and I did. We gave our mics over to our spouses and just told them to run an episode. And Aaron and I pretended to be we didn't pretend, we were the guests for the episode, but it was a real fun time. They did the opener instead of us and everything. It was our Christmas special episode. So. But yeah, something about us podcasters, we really want to get our significant others involved in our shows.
Yeah, I'd have to check that episode out. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I get quite often. So she supports me, but I get a lot of, it's taken over your life, this, isn't it? Yeah, because of editing and guests, and I kind of record weekly but release fortnightly. So I go through these big blocks of time of speaking to people. And yeah, she's listening when she walks the dog, or when he let her walk. She used to listen, but yeah, it's my thing. But she never came when I did stand up comedy. She never came watch, and I think it's because she's too protective of me. So she kind of lets me do my thing, knows that I'm okay, and gets on. But yeah, I'd love her to be on, but yeah, she's not that kind of person, unfortunately. But it's great that your wife's came and did an episode. I'd love for her to do that.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. And I know that we have more content coming in the future with our wives. But I don't want to get too far ahead and focus on the future. Let's talk about a little bit with the past. So when you were born, your parents decided to name you Geoff Jones. It's almost like they were prepping you to be in the entertainment business, because I feel like a name like that, you have to be somebody who either like you're a talk show host or you're a podcaster or something. So, what's up with that? Like,
really? I mean, my full name is Jeffrey Thomas Jones. That sounds to me, and it took me a long time to get, because to me it sounds like, especially it's Geoff with a G. So to me it sounds like kind of an accountant that's probably got a cocaine addiction. Like it sounds like someone middle management he's a nice guy, but he's just not the best guy. Probably got something in his like skeleton somewhere. But that's how I've always felt about it. And I think maybe that's why I try so hard to be this other thing. I've thought about adopting other names and things. So it's maybe the first ever compliment I've had on my name. So I appreciate that, Tim. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome, Geoff. I think it sounds very much like an entertainer name. So I don't know. I think you're in the right field, but maybe American Psycho is maybe where you belong instead.
Yeah, that's my dear late grand used to say that I'm either going to be a con man or a diplomat.
Well, you fell somewhere in the middle.
I fell somewhere, definitely.
So I do want to hear a little bit more about that landing. I mean, I'm sure your life has changed drastically with adopting all these animals, finding a wife, and having one child, 2 children, 3, 5.
I have 5. I have, and well, I have 5 children. I have 2 grandchildren.
Congratulations.
So I'm 42. I had my first child at 18, not long into being 18, with someone I was with from the age of kind of 15 to 20. A relationship which has probably caused an awful lot of things, which will probably be unearthed here. Obviously, I adore my children. They've always been in my life. I then met my wife. We have 3 children, but yeah, my eldest is 23. She has her life sorted out, has a great fiance. They've bought a flat. They have 2 amazing children. So when you have children young, you're going to be at risk of being a young grandparent. But yeah, she's done it the right way. So yeah, very, very proud. But so I was kind of I was an adult. I was a dad before I was a grown up.
Jeez.
So it's been tricky because I've always said I'd like to think I'm a nice guy, but I don't think I've always been the best guy. I've not always been the best husband, not always been the best father. I mean, me and my wife have been married almost 20 years. So it took a long way into that 20 years for me to realize, maybe I'm not the worst person in the world because of how, my mind was conditioned to make me believe about myself. So now I've got 5 kids. The youngest is 10 and he walked to school for the first time and home again yesterday. I followed a little bit until he caught me, and then there was a bit of a scene, so I had to leave. It was like him just shouted, "Okay, stop following me!" And all the other parents are like, "I'm like, it's okay. He's walking to school on his own. It's nothing weird here." And now he's a big boy. I'm going to start charging him rent.
He's ready to
in this
start
economy.
Yeah.
I need all the help I can get so he can get out to work. But no, and I've got a jump out from that. I've got 17.
I mean, at 42, you must have everything figured out. I mean, like, sorry, my connection wobbled. So
no, that's fine. I have, the only thing I know for certain is I love my family and I love podcasting. Like I used to work, I spent so long, so I didn't get to do further education because I had to go and work to support the family. Then when that relationship broke down, I still had to obviously support that family, and then had a new family. The older 2 kids have always been a massive part of the family unit. But yeah, so I was working or being dad for 20 years. Just working, being there from the age of from the age of 18. Even before that, because kind of relationship from the age of 15, I was almost responsible for another human being because they had some issues, some family issues and things, which it's not my place to go into about their circumstances, but I was almost their protector at the same time. So that kind of goes. And then 20 years of being a dad and a husband and trying to be the best and just working solidly and with no qualifications, trying to reach as high as I can just to get that salary, just to kind of reach what I could. And then I tried doing things for me, like the comedy. Okay, I loved it, didn't have the time. The writing, loved it. Didn't have time. This, I can talk to people for an hour, edit for an hour, and it goes out. And I love it, but it doesn't consume. I still have time now to be dad, but I'm also Geoff now as well, rather than just the husband, the worker, and the dad. I've got a little bit of my world just set aside for me. And you guys, obviously.
Yeah, I feel very appreciative that you are able to have taken some time today and join us. One thing I'm very curious about, right? So you said, first of all, I don't think we realized it at the time, but you had this incredible mic drop statement earlier with, I was a dad before I was a grown up. And I feel like there are plenty of people out there who can really kind of vibe and understand exactly what you mean by that, because I don't know if it's a more common thing or not, but Aaron and I, a bunch of people that we went to school with, they had kids pretty young too. And I think about it because my father also had a child when he was 16. And I wonder, like, how much would that like alter somebody's life? Like that is a very big moment to experience at such a young age. But I don't want to dwell on that too much. I just want to point it out because I thought that was an incredible line. But I'm really curious about the children's book you released. What is the name of it?
So it's called Teacher's Day Off. And so essentially my son, so I always like writing, and I've got scrapbooks of ideas, and they're all grown up books. But when my son, my 17-year-old was younger, he didn't enjoy reading, and it was reading just to tick the box for school. And what I just had an idea of just stories which were, a dozen pages, fast action, and the story has a full story arc, but it's done. And so instead of having to read 5 pages, well, actually, maybe I just want to read the next couple. Oh, actually, now I've read 10. Well, I may as well read 11, 12, 13. And so it's 6 stories. They're not interlocked, but they've got kind of nods to each other. And it's basically, they all start with, the boring teacher on a Friday afternoon. All the kids are murmuring and saying, they're so boring, they're going to be cleaning their socks and listening to, the radio. And then they go off and do these amazing things, like one's a motorbike racer, and it's all about him and his big rivalry. There's one who's a kind of Indiana Jones type figure, and the last story is the headmistress, and it's a bit different because all the teachers are saying, it's so boring, and it goes off and leads kind of basically a space force of protecting the world from asteroids and things like. And it's I suppose the meaning is not judging a book by its cover, but it's mainly just about fun, getting kids to read. Now, because I have a massive imposter syndrome, he had actually left school, not left school in total, but left that kind of reading age group by the time I'd finished it. Because it took some other people massive reading it and saying, Geoff, you've got to get this finished and get it out there. But it was shelved for a bit. But hey, he enjoyed it when he was about 15, which is but now my 10-year-old has read it several times. My niece got to read it when she was the right age. Lots of our friends' children who are that age, they read that. It wasn't something I promoted lots. It's on Amazon. I've got hard copies, but it was something the first thing that I properly achieved and finished for myself, with help from others, because it's difficult to. It's 84 pages. It's not a massive work of art, but it's mine, and I did that. And those who have read it, or the kids who have read it, have enjoyed it. Parents have said it's kind of had the desired effect. I'm considering getting an audiobook just for almost like a bedtime thing for it, but again, that would just be for me. I love it though. But one day I will write my masterpiece, and I know exactly what it is. I can see it. I just haven't got to write it yet.
No, magnum opus is supposed to take a lifetime, so I think you got plenty of time.
That's it. And one day I'll read my memoir, and everyone will be like, "Why is this nobody released a memoir?" I don't care. He tried making some stuff better. No one.
Jeffrey Thomas Jones, the man who didn't do cocaine.
the man who kind of did some stuff.
I feel like that's a little diminutive. That does feel like an astounding accomplishment.
I'm very self-depreciating.
You must be a master of hooks in order to keep people coming back and telling all these different stories.
I'd like to think so, but I don't. I'd probably be doing it for a living if that was, if I was that good at it. I'm bad at marketing. I'm great at talking.
So, do you feel like you're still a kid at heart? Because I feel like you have to be to engage your imagination that deeply.
So, this is the crazy thing. So there is about 5 different Geoffs, not in that kind of fractured mind, serious medical condition kind of way, but there's work Geoff, who is good at his job, and I'm good at communicating, and I can do my job. Because I have massive imposter syndrome in everything. I'm kind of fun. But I'm the guy who was a young dad with no real qualifications, yet I've actually got a decent job. One day I'm going to get found out, But there's that Geoff who's kind of quite more focused, and but I can still be creative. I've got the dad Geoff who is a lot different. I feel quite sad for my youngest. There's a 7-year gap between kind of the youngest and then the next, but then there's only 7 years between the rest of them. So they probably got the best version of Fun Dad, because I was a lot more energetic, not carefree, but I don't know, I could do more. I felt like I had more time. So I do lots with the 10-year-old, but he hasn't got that sibling support network because they're all 17 and 20, 22 and 23. So it's a very different dad, Geoff, than it was 10 years ago. And then there's the husband who just tries to do best by his wife, who's deserves everything, and I wish I could give it to her. So always kind of doing that reaching bit. And then there's me, and it's either I be creative and keep my mind focused, or the world's quiet, but not necessarily inside my head. It's distraction mainly. But at somewhere around 25, that creative part of me stopped growing, maybe even younger than that. And maybe from not having that chance of experiencing going from a child to an adult in a normal growth way, somewhere my mind's just still, hey, fart jokes will never not be funny. Like, that's just fact.
That's just fact.
Yeah.
That's science.
Somewhere something inside of me stopped growing. But I think that's also why for a long time I maybe struggled to deal with life, and my emotions and who I was and what was happening around me. I didn't have an appreciation of things. So it's kind of a positive and a negative, because I can create, and if I had the skill level, then I'd take over the world. But it's one of the reasons I'm one of the people who's kind of happy with some parts of AI, because I can tell it what to do and it does it. I don't have to employ someone to do it for me. But I think somewhere there's a child version of Geoff who maybe stopped when he got to 15, and instead of going off and doing festivals or drinking in the woods, and I did my fair share of things, but I was also had to go. I mean, without getting too down, like me and the partner with my elder 2 children, like we had a stillborn child at 16. So, and I was ready to step then, kind of thing. Yeah. So, that's kind of another layer. So I say 18 because it's an easy conversation to say, well, 16, but you know what? But so somewhere around that time frame, from the age of 15 to 20, I stopped growing emotionally, which means I can create bits and pieces. So it's my origin story. I'm a superhero now, I think. I'm also really humble.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key part of being the master of hooks, is you have to be humble.
Definitely.
And you have the formative. Go ahead.
So I'm going to say I'm keeping the master of hooks. That's my official title now.
Yeah, I wrote that down at the top of your You have a dedicated piece of paper in my journal now, and the top of it says "A Master of Hooks."
And the second bit says "Beautiful Eyes."
Yeah. Underneath that, it's a handsome young man, beautiful eyes, question mark.
Awesome shirts, question mark. I'll take the glasses off, and then you can see the eyes. Yeah,
there we go. So, Geoff, I just looked at your and correct me if I'm wrong here, right? But Geoff and Friends Make It Better. It looks like you are currently at 57 episodes released under that show title. Am I correct?
That sounds about right. Yeah, and I think we've got about another 6 in the tank, maybe 7 to be released. Yeah, it's been going a while, and especially when I first started it, there was about 2-month gap between release episodes because I didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't taking it seriously. And now it's kind of the all-consuming. But and when I think I can't remember all the episodes, which is crazy, until I read the names of them, and I kind of piece that back together, because there's so much, and there's so many conversations and so many amazing people. Like, I know it's my show, but I like apart from my own voice, I love listening to the guests back when I go through editing. And my dog likes it because when we go out, I put it on for him, so he loves it.
He's got little headphones you put on.
Yeah, he's the biggest. When I just play it throughout the house, whichever room he's in, he can't get away from me.
Yeah, of course.
But it's crazy. We're coming to very nearly the end of the second year, and this was meant to be a bit of fun. And I've got just confirmed a band coming on, and some other people that it's going on. More podcasters coming on, and I love this. I've kind of in season 2, I've become a bit bigger part of the podcasting community, and that's even more amazing because authors have got a voice, right? But their voice is different to the comedians and all these people. These artists had a Best Boy grip on, which was I don't know about you. I look watching the credits. You got to see the Best Boy grip is. Had no idea what that was. I got one on the show. Like for me, that's like a little personal milestone because he told me what a Best Boy grip was, and it was fantastic. But also spoke about it was a leadership episode. First ever guest from France. And we've got it's kind of got a very small global following. Like Canada does kind of pretty well in the States, and the UK and a few other, or Belgium as well. Like it's kind of been picked up, and but for me it would always just be my little part of the internet, my little part of the world that we're just trying to throw some good out there.
Yeah, and I can really appreciate that. I'm actually
fantastic job.
I'm actually looking at your YouTube here, and I just want everybody to know I've scratched out the question mark next to beautiful eyes because his banner on YouTube is actually a photo of his eyes, and I'm captivated. So,
thank you. Yeah, it's one of 2 semi-good pictures that I have from my whole life, where I don't look like it's have you seen this man kind of. It's I don't know what it is. I don't think I'm a really kind of suspicious looking person, but you put a camera in front of me and all of a sudden whistles are blown. It's crazy. But no, thank you. Thank you. Oh, you guys are really boosting my morale up. It was in May I did 2 live shows, and being so I'm quite self-conscious about how I look. So I always ham up, and I sound arrogant and egotistical, but it's a mask, deep inside, just this kind of crumbling mess of self-loathing. So being up on a stage doing the show live for me was scary because I'd never done it live, but it was more scary because people were physically looking at me. If you go on YouTube, all the episodes are still audio only because I haven't quite mastered editing, but video, but also kind of felt comfortable enough to put me to the world. So there's little things I have done on Instagram. So there's one Instagram video which is kind of my face. There's the first time, maybe second time I've kind of actually put me on anything. Hence why I do a lot of stuff with my dog, rescue dog Neville. He's always the focus, but that's why, because if I have to promote, I hate marketing, I hate promoting, but if I've got to try and get the name of the podcast out there, I've got to put something on social media. I don't really want it to be me, so it's the dog. But yeah, he's got more beautiful eyes than mine, but they're sad. They're the eyes of a dog that's seen some things.
I can definitely understand that.
What about the dog?
Yes, generally, because we all do have this self-image disconnect where we can't see what other people see.
Yeah.
Other people see us as whole and complete and these beautiful people who are helping and driving forward, whereas we just see the cracks.
Yeah. Beautifully put.
One thing that I've been seeing a lot lately, especially whenever I'm talking to people about the podcast or on the podcast, everyone thinks I'm very eloquent, as you've said a couple times here. But I find that talking is so easy when the thing you're doing most is listening. So I'm glad you brought that point up, that, it is easier whenever you're bringing these people on and listening, really hearing the person. So, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to do that with you today.
Well, yeah, me too. And I actually thought you were going to turn around and say that you've got kind of a podcast voice and you talk very nicely, but actually in kind of outside of the podcast world in real life, just this kind of real kind of, hey, you guys, kind of just swearing, spitting, hey, get out of my yard, that kind of thing. But actually you're just saying,
You're honestly not too far off. It's been we've been actually making sure people understand this, right? Like Aaron, he comes on this show. You get to see 1 hour of Aaron's life a week. Mine as well, right? But I'm not as crazy as Aaron. Aaron is absolutely. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. What's the society you're part of? The Mensa members?
Oh, like the Mensas.
Yeah, the Mensas. Yeah.
No, not quite.
Absolute.
The high
geniuses.
IQ people. Yeah,
the high IQ people that are like, not all of them. Make sure I make this very clear. Not all of them are. Some of them have some strange tendencies, and Aaron might have a few strange tendencies.
I might, and I certainly have my own struggles. I also deal with that imposter syndrome of when I come on here, I'm able to be my best self for an hour a day, but whenever I kick my dog's bed and stove the hell out of my toe. Listen at your own discretion.
Been there. Lego, the old favorite.
But yeah,
it's definitely Lego.
So I do want to dive in more. So at 42, life, the universe, and everything, you've got to have it figured out. What are some of the lessons that have taken you this long to figure out, or what are you still perfecting?
So it's not even my number one. I've got a lot of number ones. And bear in mind, most of this is probably from the last, anything from 1 to 5 years. Like I didn't know who I was as a human until 35, 37 years old. Outside, I knew my role in life. I didn't know who I was. So the main thing I'd say is that's okay. Now I'm a bit clearer on who I am and where I want to be, and I know it's still going to be time to get there. If you are in a situation where you don't know who you are, it doesn't mean the situation's wrong. It just means that you haven't necessarily grown to that situation. Or if you're growing out of the situation, that's also okay, because you're creating more for yourself or creating something different. So you don't have to settle if you feel settled. Don't be a jerk. Don't think, hey, do you know what? I'm going to be a famous podcaster, quit your job, leave your wife and kids and take to the road. And, that's a crazy idea. But there's opportunities. The world's so much closer together now. Like a lot of people work from home. So the job that you couldn't get because it was on another continent, now you can go for. Like, I suppose to put it in short, think big. And it's okay. Second thing is do not set unobtainable goals. If you're not in a state of mind to lose weight right now, don't add that on the list of things you need to do. Add on a 20-minute walk. Like don't give yourself something to fail at, give yourself something to that box to tick. And that could be anything. It could be like, right, I'm going to go get a job which pays me thousands of dollars more. That's fine, but a plan together and say, well, okay, actually, it's not going to be that much straight away. It's going to be this much. Like, you don't have to jump forwards. And I think we live in a society where everything shows us, look how great you can be in an instant, when actually it's not quite that simple. But that's okay. And never stop growing. Like, people need to be nice, right? There's not enough people who are just being nice. You need to be nice to people around you. If you put good out there, good will come to you. I'm not a religious person. I'm not particularly spiritual, but I do believe that at some point something's got to repay you, right? Otherwise, what's the point? That
just makes sense.
What's the point in all of it? If everyone's just walking around taking and being negative, then people are going to be miserable. If you put happiness out there, then you get happiness back. At the very least, if you smile at someone, you get a smile back. Do you know what? That's a win. So yeah, be a good person. Don't judge other people based on what's going on in their lives. Just, be happy with who you are or where you're going, and be nice. That's the biggest thing I've learned, because I used to be, sorry if language, but no, actually I won't. I was going to say arsehole, but opinionated.
Yeah.
And the world doesn't need Geoff Jones to be opinionated, because enough people have got their opinions. So,
they do say assholes and opinions are the same thing. Everybody's got one. Am I right?
Everybody's got one. That's it. That's it.
And one thing I'm focusing on a lot is being prepared to be wrong. Because I find that people who absolutely know stuff, they oftentimes know the least, because they're so inflexible in their ideologies and stuff. You have to be ready to be wrong.
Yes. I wholeheartedly agree. And we live in a world which is probably, I mentioned it's closer, but it's probably more divided than it's been for decades, whether that's, politically, religious, foods, diets, vegans, meat eat. Like, there's everyone is against someone at the moment. And if people with you, they're against you. And that's not the case, because I have no real strong belief about much. Like, I'm not bland. I have my opinions, and as long as me and mine are well and safe, that's number one. If I can help externally, I will, but I will help. I won't add fuel to a fire. I won't antagonize. I try not to. That we all have that one extra beer, and all of a sudden, you're Gandhi and you're telling the whole world how they should be better and doing this, right? But just because someone disagrees with me, they may be disagreeing with me because it's better for them in their situation. If they listen, if two people can have a conversation and actually talk and listen, more gets done. And that's probably why I stopped investing myself in things like politics, because just no one listens. Everyone's right. The other team's wrong. And that doesn't have to be how it could be, because no one sees the good that the other side does, because they're so desperate for them to be wrong. And that's on the top of the political spectrum to the people working the 9 to 5. If you work together, then more gets done. More's achievable when everyone just pushes in the same direction. Even if you have a little argument on the way, at least try and get to the same point.
Yeah, being respectful of other people's opinions doesn't mean that you have to necessarily agree with them, right? But just because, and we actually did talk about this a little bit with another previous guest of ours named Leon from A Fitting End. He mentioned, or we had mentioned, that society has never felt more impossible to bring together, right? It's a me versus them mentality, and you're always labeling somebody in a separate group, right? So you already said it, but if you're not with me, you're against me, kind of thing. And it's really sad. The world has never been more connected in the history of ever, and yet we're so divided.
Yeah.
And it's really a shame.
It's sad. Like, and I think it's why I shut myself off. I look for positive influences. Steer, who was the guest of yours, who was a guest of mine, I saw that he had been on here, listened to a couple, and I was like, these guys are people that would fit within my orbit. From what I hear, from what you're putting out there, because you wouldn't be doing it if you believed in it. I mean, you could go off this and be like, "Cool, all right, Aaron, we've fooled him again. Let's go and kick some puppies." Just twiddling moustaches. But I don't feel like that's necessarily the case, and people need to do that. Yeah, because we know that social media pushes. It kind of either gives you the kind of informational bias. There's a real word I'm looking for, but it kind of it's biases, isn't it? And
confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias. Thank you. That okay, everything's being driven to me is right. This person's interact with me in a positive way about my negative opinion. That must make my negative opinion right. Wait, hang on. Here's someone who hasn't liked it, and they've questioned me. Well, they can't question me, and it grows, and then you just got reams of Facebook posts and comments of people just getting personal. Just why, like two people from opposite sides of the planet who have this opportunity to say, you know what, you're kind of right, I'm kind of right. Let's hope they figure it out. Wouldn't it be great if, someone did this, which means that this could happen. Oh my God, that'd be great. But it's not. We're just fed to the machine of negativity.
I heard a phrase earlier where if you allow yourself to be just a cog in the machine, you're eventually going to get grinded out. I don't know 100% if that fits exactly into what we were just talking about, but you said, the machine, and I was like, the machine.
The machine. But it does, though. But it's a metaphor that could be used for so many different things, couldn't it? Whether that's work, personal, sport, like that's if you insert yourself and you'll just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going, eventually you get ground down by either the system or I don't know, the fifth bedtime story that you got to read your child before they decide that it's time for there's lots of machines in our life. We're kind of built of just lots of little machines making up who we are. And things are going to break if we don't look after them. If you don't oil yourself with large amounts of vodka. No, that's the bad.
I did
that's
that
not
for
advice.
years. It's probably not the best option.
Yeah.
He said, yeah.
It tastes good. I top it up with tears to make it extra sweet.
That's what really brings it together.
Oh dear. So just a little glimpse of the madness. Yes, Aaron, you were going to say something.
I do love that you brought up the concept of the media feeding negativity and the algorithms and stuff, because I had a thought a while ago whenever I was preparing for a spiritual retreat, and they were like, be really careful about what media you're ingesting and stuff. I had to sit there and think, what do happy people even watch? Because everything is just, if you scroll through your feed, it's just negative, fear, hate, these people are wrong. And I'm so glad that you keep bringing that up, because that's a point we need to drive home. I've even looked back at prior debates and stuff, since in America we are in a political season. I hear you are as well.
Yep.
And it used to be, this is what we all counterpart my opposition or whatever. They brought that point up because I also want that, and here's how I want to affect that change. So if we sit down and do have conversations across the aisle, as we say, we're going to find that we want the same things. All humans have the same needs. And as you said, we just have to find that common ground. It's not us versus them. It's us together versus the problem.
Yeah. I love, you said what do happy people watch? And the actual answer to that is people's happiness is their own, isn't it? So they can, I love watching low budget horror films. right? I'm talking your Llamageddons, Killer Pinata. My favorite film of all time is a film called Killer Sofa. If you've not seen it, it's on Amazon. It's about possessed armchair. It's not even a sofa. I've actually had the director Bernie Rao on the show. We moaned about our dogs, and but the whole thing's a masterpiece. And if you take it out of the context that it's a sofa, then people don't think, okay, Geoff, you're crazy. But I love that. That's my bit of habit. No one understands it. They see it as a rubbish film. I see it as people with a little creating something bigger. It may not be the best quality, but they've used their resources to make something, and it brought me joy. If my children have to watch Six-Headed Shark Attack, where a shark has six heads, in Five-Headed Shark Attack. So it is the actual the fifth one. In Five-Headed Shark Attack, spoiler alert, the fifth head's on its tail. So there's a spoiler there for you. But in Six-Headed Shark Attack, it's not. It's actually two either side and two at the front, and it walks on its heads. So there you go. So, right. That's I know. That's my little bit of happiness, right? But my children look at me and they say, "Dad, there's something wrong with you. Like, this isn't entertainment." Like, it is for me. They enjoy whatever music is. They'll scroll through their TikToks and they'll watch videos of, I don't know, cats knocking over babies, right? Yeah, that's funny, but that's just by chance. You can't orchestrate that. Maybe you can if you throw a cat at a child, but. Like, what I say is everyone's got their own happiness, and do you know what, that could conflict with someone else. I've never watched an episode of the Kardashians. I know I would hate it. I'd hate every second. So what I do is I don't watch the Kardashians, but I don't then say to anyone who does watch it, I've got no judgment of those people, because they could be more intelligent than me, they could be more successful than me, and actually they just like watching whatever they do on the Kardashians. And that's their bit of habit. They may or may not like low budget horror films. Somebody who watches the Kardashians, after they may go straight off and watch Killer Sofa, and then we've got a common ground. But if I say, you watch the Kardashians, look how rubbish you are, and then I wouldn't find that out about them. We don't have to get involved in that part. So yeah, like, happy people watch whoever makes them happy, I guess.
I think that's a really good assessment. I tend to find myself, I personally think I'm a pretty happy individual these days. And I find myself listening to a lot of things revolving around conspiracy theories, cryptids, murders, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And, somebody might look at me and be like, wow, you're kind of a weird guy, aren't you? And I'd look right back at them and be like, aren't we all? I mean, what else can you say to that? Like, everything, if you go into a conversation, right, like your hypothetical situation with the Kardashians versus Killer Sofa, right? If your good friend loves the Kardashians and you love Killer Sofa, and you immediately attack your friend being like, oh, that show's garbage and you're a bad person for liking it. Like, what did you add to the world by doing that? You've just created this negative impact, and your friend could have been like, hey man, I really... I'm so glad you enjoy that Killer Sofa movie. I don't get it, but I'll watch it with you so we can, maybe have a good laugh together or whatever. And now they're like, yeah, you know what? I don't like this guy anymore.
But that's it. If someone said to me, I would watch another fantastic film called Butt Boy, which I'll explain. But if someone said, Geoff, you've been talking about Butt Boy for a long time, I will watch that film with you if you watch an episode or two of the Kardashians with me. Right? Let's grow each other's palette of what and hey, you don't have to like it, you don't have to go on, but at least you'll have an understanding, and I can point to you and say, I like this because their relationship in this show. Oh, okay, I get it. Still not for me, love it, but at least now I understand you better as a human being.
Yeah. Being more understanding and willing and open doesn't necessarily mean you have to comply. It's just a matter of like, I think a good example here would be rom-coms, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a huge comedy movie fan, right? And every now and then I'll enjoy a good romance. And then every now and then those things will overlap and I'm just having the best time of my life. But I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know that unless I actually gave it a try, right? Like, if you were like, oh, The Notebook, it's so sad and you're going to cry at the end, I might be like, why would I want to watch that? Why?
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll sit down and be like, oh my God.
But if you didn't cry, does that then make something wrong with you? Right? Because someone is saying that it's going to trigger that response and you don't. So, well, hang on, I enjoyed that film, but I didn't cry. So did I not? Like someone else's opinion of how you're going to take a situation, but you may not. I mean, Pitch Perfect, probably the single greatest movie that's ever existed. Right? I think that's generational. Pretty much everyone's going to agree with that. Third one, definitely not. Second one, that he just tried to ruin it. Who takes their own song to I won't get into it. But I love that because that's feel good, right? You know what's going to happen. You know there's going to be bumps along the way. There's going to be a misunderstanding. If they just spoke about it, But rom-coms are probably I think the kind of purest form of entertainment in the fact that it ends well. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get an emotional journey along the way. But I also understand people don't like that. They just like seeing people's heads getting sliced off. Or I really feel like I've mentioned Butt Boy, but you've not let me explain it. And now I can't leave it without an explanation.
So anyway, all right. So the point I want to get to is
thanks for listening, guys. Next week,
Aaron.
Oh God. We were on the same page with that. I love that.
Yeah.
Please tell me a little bit about Butt Boy.
Joe, if right, so Butt Boy is about a kleptomaniac who steals a TV remote. Okay, he then steals a ball and a dog. Eventually, steals a baby, and then eventually kind of kidnaps the policeman who's looking for the baby. Okay. Now, if I said to you, he's taken all these things and put them in a storage container in the woods, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's horror. He's not, he's putting them in his anus. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like a fully grown man as well. So yes, it's odd. But objectively, the story, the way the character grows, you see kind of the deterioration of this person. It's impossible to explain when you're talking about someone putting a small little fluffy dog inside. Is that you don't see it? I mean, you do. There is a shot of actually being inside the anus, but don't worry about that. But explaining it is pure madness. But if you watch it and you watch it with an eye of looking at the detail, looking at the people, looking how the kind of this guy's psychological state is changing, it's objectively fantastic film, but it's a hard sell.
Yeah, that's kind of how I don't know how big you are into horror films if you dive deep into the big name movies or not, but Halloween just recently within the past 2 years released a movie called Halloween Ends, and it was very divisive among the fans. I'm a huge Halloween nerd. I have Michael Myers tattooed on my hand, and there were a lot of people who would probably say the same thing. Like the concept behind what the movie is about, that's a hard sell to fans who have been loyal to the series since 1978. But hey, look, I think they did an awesome job with the execution. And I haven't watched Butt Boy, but I'm super interested. I have Butt Boy.
You're not the first person to say that to me. Believe it or not.
It sounds fascinating, and I'm all about a good character arc, a good story. So
psychological thriller.
I'm definitely very interested in Killer Sofa as well. Just so you're aware, I intend on watching that at some point.
Let me know.
I will.
Both films will change your perspective on cinema.
I'm excited for that to happen.
Yeah, not that either of them probably made it to the cinema, but
So I'm gonna summarize a few points that I perceived from your story. I'm really glad that you said, find your happiness and own it. Hobo Johnson, great friend of the show. Can't wait to have him on. And with his songs, he says, whenever you flood the earth again, make sure you because we are who we are. If you hide yourself and kind of attach all this shame and guilt, are you growing? And then a little later on, as you were talking about the Kardashians versus Killer Sofa and Butt Boy, I really kind of heard you say ask questions first instead of passing judgment and hating somebody. Say, hey, what do you get out of that?
This is a very important thing. I have to make sure I mention it right now. Aaron, I'll let you get back to this. The Kardashians versus Killer Sofa and Butt Boy. That's your magnum opus. You have discovered it. It happened here on this show, folks, when it's the #1 bestseller in the New York list.
Yeah.
Please come back to this show and watch it. Sorry, Aaron.
That's it.
That was
the master of hooks strikes again.
So I'm going to have to catch that on the Friday release because my internet cut out like it always does. So another thing you said was being able to expand your horizons. I find that the more you find varying environments that you can tolerate, the more you grow and the more robust you're going to be. As you said about your dog being a Romanian amalgamation of all dogs, so he's going to outlast us all. And that's in part because he's going to survive whatever the environment is.
Yeah.
So I do think that's an incredible point you made, that increasing your tolerable existence spectrum is going to only benefit you. If you're in a space and you're just dwelling on, I hate this, I don't want to be here, I can't do this, you're going to fail. But if you're like, okay, cool, what's going on here? What can I parse from this existence or this moment? You're going to grow. And that's kind of the point, isn't it?
Definitely. It's like if all you eat is chicken nuggets dipped in tomato ketchup, and then, you know what, one day you try dipping it in, I don't know what flavors you've got over there, but a sweet chili sauce, maybe. You think, oh, actually, I like something that's a bit spicier. Well, maybe next time I'll have a spicy wing instead. Oh, okay, I quite like that. You know, you grow, and if you don't try anything new, you're forever staying in your own bubble, and that's whether it's entertainment, politics, exercise, travel, whatever it is. I had a long when I was young, I had this really long dislike for a whole country of people that I'd never interacted with, never really experienced it, purely on the basis of a story one person told me when they visited that country. And it took me years to realize how crazy is it that I have made this negative judgment on an entire country based on one person I know having, it wasn't the best experience, but it wasn't, the worst of it, but just having a negative experience, telling me about it. And I'm like, you know what? That's it. These people, they're out. They're off the Christmas card list. I'm not, I refuse to deal with it. And I kind of, one day I was just like, do you know what, Geoff, that's ridiculous. Like, I've never been there and I never will. But I've got to, it's, no, but it's, but that's all part of growth, right? It's just about understanding who you are and your capabilities of, I don't know, love and acceptance and tolerance may be not as tight and congested as you think it is.
I think it's a very important thing
Speaking
to understand.
Speaking of tight and congested, can I just touch on Butt Boy real quick, Tim?
Please do so. I can't stop that kind of an introduction.
All right, this is my analysis.
Oh God,
Butt Boy.
This has been Tim signing off. Peace.
So based on this quick and dirty summary I've gotten here and this rough idea I've got, this might be a bit of a stinker. Bear with me.
Oh God. You're desperate to get cancelled, aren't you, Aaron? It's just the podcast's over with now. Just
no such thing as bad publicity here. All right, but it seems like it's telling the story. You have to keep burying it under layer and layer of untruth. And then how are you gonna contain all of that eventually?
Yeah, eventually something's got to blow, right? But it is. It's this. The things gets worse on a grander scale,
Yeah.
And yeah, you see this person, the guilt and the hiding, and the mental state becomes more negative. I mean, the list of puns then though is they should write that should be on the DVD cover.
Or VHS, whatever they go with.
It'll be actually on Laserdisc. Thank you.
Yeah.
People out there going, what's that?
What the hell is a VHS?
Coming back now, they're retro.
Yeah.
My God,
I saw a photo earlier of have you ever played the Fallout video games?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm aware of them though.
You know, like the old, I don't know, maybe 60s TVs that are really round looking and crazy. I saw somebody selling one the other day on YouTube, or not YouTube, on Facebook. And I was like, damn, I really want that. And I was like, what the hell would I do with that? It's like, it's got like 3 pixels in it. You won't be able to see shit, but hey, you know what? It'd be really cool to have.
It'd be cool. Do you know what you do? You gut it out and you keep the glass on it, take the bat out, and you've got yourself a little cat house, little cat bed, retro cat bed. Yeah.
There's a collector out there who collects TVs, and they just heard you say that, and now they're trying to cancel you.
When they could be making millions of dollars.
Yeah. What's wrong with those idiots?
Yeah.
Dollars off this fantastic idea.
So, gentlemen, I do think we're coming to the end of our episode here. I have 2 things.
Now it's time. Not 10, roughly 10 minutes ago.
No,
is when it should have.
We're finding ourselves at the rear of this one, everybody. So I was trying to say earlier, you made a point, but we've talked about how if you're not experiencing growth in your life, you are decaying, essentially. Atrophy is the word that Aaron likes to use. I can't use that word naturally, so I say decay. But there's no such thing as maintaining, right? Like if you're not purposefully aiming to be better than you were the day before, you're backsliding at that point. And always aiming for that little bit of growth. It doesn't matter if it's like brushing your teeth an extra 20 seconds, or if it's like turning your 20-minute walk into a 21-minute walk. Like that tiny, tiny little bit of growth, that stuff builds up, and it builds quick. And before you realize it, you're going to be going on an hour-long run, and you're going to be like, can't believe I used to walk for fun. Like, it's insane. But growth, it happens exponentially. It happens quicker than you realize. And yeah, if you're not purposefully aiming for that, you're going to start losing traction. I have a question for you, Geoff. And this one's a bonus question, so it's not my final point, Aaron, just so you know. My bonus question is, how come you got out of comedy? Because I don't think I've ever laughed this hard on an episode. You should get back into it. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yeah, it has been. I've been psyching myself up all day for, I've been practicing ugly crying for you guys.
Do you have note cards in front of you of jokes you want to make?
No. Do you know what? It's fantastic. It's a lot of work, and anyone who does it and my lifestyle just isn't set up for gigging 3-4 nights a week. I found quite early in life that I was maybe not the smartest or the most athletic, or I couldn't consume information and turn it into great points, but I could make people laugh, quite quick-witted, and that kind of became almost my persona, my defense mechanism for the world. So I use it, and I find it a lot easier to do when talking with people. You'll find, as you listen back to this episode, there'll be points where it starts maybe touching on quite something deep, or it's been serious for a time, and so I have to lighten the mood, because I'm always conditioned myself to be the person to, if I get angry or cross, I flashpoint, like it goes up and down, and then I'm the person to calm everything and do it, because a better environment for me. And when people are laughing, I feel like I'm achieving, and I've done so. I've impressed people, because I'm not going to impress them with anything else. So yeah, this is what I have. But I'm also far too lazy to go and stand in pubs. Do you know what? The kicker for me was I was doing some gigs, and I was going on the circuit, and there was a kind of early evening set, and it was a new venue, and they didn't really know how to put on a comedy night. And I had a joke. It was very well crafted. It was a penis joke, right? I'll hold my hands up. But it was very well crafted. I was very pleased with it. There was 6 gentlemen, roughly in their 60s, all having the special of the night, which was sausage and mash. And I went into this joke, and this old boy went, "Right, it's like that, is it?" And I thought, you know what? I'm not spending an hour driving to and from just for someone who can't handle the word penis as he's putting a sausage in his mouth. Like, that's not my problem, buddy. That one's on you. But then I thought, you know what? I haven't actually got time to pick what I want to do and write new sets and perfect it. So yeah, so I just do it in other ways now. One day I will. One day I'll go viral for something, and then Netflix will pay me loads of money. I'll have to just write a show and pretend that I've been doing it my whole life, because that seems to be the way to go these days.
Certainly.
I'm not bitter.
I think your comedy comes through in some of your episodes, and just in general, like it seems to be a very integral part of your personality. So I think in one way you've traded stand-up comedy for sit-down comedy, and now you get to just do a podcast, not quote unquote just do a podcast. I think your show, it has a lot to it, and it can be very influential to people if they just give it the opportunity, sit down and listen to it, and come laugh with Geoff Jones and Friends. So that leads me to my last question I have for you, Geoff, and that is, what does the future hold for Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better? Where do you want to take your show?
So there's a few things that I'm kind of dangling out there. The first one is more live shows, because I think it's a problem that people, especially with the right guests, you know, or say the right guests for the right venue. You know, a lot of stand-up comedians taking it to pubs and bars and sit with mic and just people having a moan, and you know, that kind of environment can get heated, but you get a good reaction. Some more of the serious episodes, I'd love to almost host kind of conversations for charities, at charity events, things like that. I would like, I mean, the things, the podcast, I hope, will be one part of what I can show the world about me. As I said, I've got the very stupid minute-long conversations with Neville, the rescue dog. I put a voice on for him. It keeps me entertained. But yeah, there's lots I'd like to do. I've started doing fake kind of true crime videos. You can see those on the YouTube. There's a couple up there at the moment. I'm trying to figure out how I can do it without AI. But yeah, a big thing for me was always the Barracuda from Finding Nemo. Mm-hmm. What led him to this point, what happened, his story after. Like he's the catalyst for Finding Nemo happening, right? He's the reason the story exists. Yet he's just off he goes, you know. And who is this person? And I'd love to be able to do kind of hour-long in-depth episodes of stuff like that. But in other walks of similar kind of fake characters. As far as the podcast specifically, I would love big names. I think anyone would like that. We'd all aspire just to have that one guest which gets the eyes. You know, mm-hmm. I love what you guys do. I love what I'm doing. There's the bar banter guys that I'm involved with. There's the Who Keeps Socks. Like, there's this community of podcasters out there who are really good. They just don't have the platform, or they haven't had the right guests, or they haven't had that one person listen to that one killer episode, right? Which then makes it take off.
The big break.
That big break. Alternatively, I'm also quite happy talking to, the average but beautiful Joes like yourself. And, I'm happy with the community, the guests I have on. Like, I owe them, my little bit of happiness every week. So that sounds really, I owe my family that, but also the guests kind of add to it as well. Just who's listening. It's really the podcast. But what? Yeah. So do you know what? It lasts forever, whether it's making me millions or I'm talking to people who just want something a bit better for a certain situation. That's kind of it, really. So nothing, but also everything is the answer. I'm content with millions. I'd be more content with millions. I really want to stretch that. If anyone's like, oh, do you know what? I was about to give him a contract, but now I won't because he's happy. No, doing it professionally for millions. But also, I don't want to upset anyone, and people think he doesn't want us to come on. So
get this man £1 million and make sure it's £1 million of money and not something random.
Yeah, VHS tapes.
There you go. There you go. It'll be the 1999 classic The Mummy starring Brendan Fraser. Just £1 million of copies of that film.
Yeah, just all the same film.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I was off sick, and I was at my mum and dad were divorced. I was at my mum's, and the only video VHS I was available to watch that I had any inclination to watch it. I pulled a sickie from school. I had to stay in. The film's Groundhog Day. I watched that film 4 times. Now, I still hear that kind of Groundhog Day because I heard it something along the lines of 130 times in one day. But I'd do it again.
You've created your own Groundhog Day.
I did. And never again. I never bumped. I never pulled a sickie again because I thought that's actually great film, but torture. Anyway, I digress. You were being nice to me. Sorry, Tim. Carry on.
Well, I think it's my turn to be nice to you.
Ah, fantastic.
Geoff, this has been incredible. This has been a really fun conversation. I have a very complex page here that is clearly the rantings of a madman.
Wait, do I get some
support?
Do I get feedback report? It's like, okay, we suggest that you speak to this public service, and we suggest that you speak to. I think there's maybe a slight bit of ADHD in there, Geoff. Oh, right, thanks, Aaron.
You've had
I think it's dissociative personality disorder, actually.
far more qualified people on your show to diagnose you than me.
Definitely.
But we do sincerely appreciate your time. This has been a blast.
I've enjoyed it. No, thank you so much. I will listen to it because I'm on it. So why wouldn't I? And I suggest everyone else listens to other ones that I'm not on. There you go. Because I have, which is really out of character for me.
I really appreciate that, Geoff. Thank you. He's promoting our podcast on our podcast.
On your podcast. Oh yeah. Oh, hang on. That's where the contract's not come from. Right. Okay. If you guys get £1 million contract, I want at least one copy of Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. Okay.
Of course.
Deal.
I'll give you half a copy.
But no,
I'll give you the other half.
I really appreciate you guys allowing me to come on and talk what may be nonsense or may be relatable or may just be the last time anyone ever sees me.
Damn.
I know, that's ominous, wasn't it?
Yeah. God.
I like doing that. Sorry, make people feel uncomfortable.
So anyway, I want to go ahead and thank the listeners for giving us the opportunity to present this episode to them and helping us meet people like Geoff and these incredible guests that we get to find out there in the wild. And they come join us on their show. They tell us their story. We get to shine a light on them, figuratively, literally. And in Geoff's case, I think he might have dampened the light a little bit there at the end. But I really do appreciate you guys for listening. We talked about it, but you can find us over on Apple, Spotify Podcast, Google Podcast. We are up over on YouTube. Check us out over there and check out Geoff Jones and Friends, Make It Better. My call to action to our listeners is that there was one Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference in this episode. If you can figure out the timestamp for that and actually leave it down in the comments, that would be phenomenal because I don't think, well, I know who made the comment. I caught it, but I don't know if anybody else did. So phenomenal job there.
Please share this episode with whoever you thought of, whether it's a fellow madman or someone who can identify with our story, who this could help. If this episode helped you and you want to repay us in some way, we have a Patreon. Feel free to repay us. we haven't got back our $1 million contract either. And of course, I don't know if we've said it enough yet. Check out Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better, because they are out here doing the work, making it better for everyone.
Our podcast is for entertainment purposes and cannot be substituted for professional medical advice.
If you need help now, please call 911 or 988 for immediate intervention.
Be good to yourselves and each other.
We love you.
Peace.